Back with your freelance report, brought to you in part by Michael Evans, author of The Real Matrix and Maximus Health and Fitness, 130 East Main Street, Riverhead, Gianna Volpe. So here we go again. Last week
we're going into week 2 of this Montauk coverage. The arrests have continued of protesters. I think, what are they up to now? 16, 18?
Something like that. Anyway, let's bring on Thomas Muse. He's on the line. He can probably answer that question better than we can.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening down there this morning because I'm on the radio with you guys, but we had 16, as of yesterday morning, 16 arrests on the site there, on the beach.
That's crazy. So, and I remember we had Larry Cantwell on with us last week, talking about how, they are not planning to halt the project. Press release came out on Monday saying the same thing. So tell us a little bit about what this has been like from your perspective, and a little bit more about yourself. You've been living out there in Montauk for over a decade now. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I think it's been about 12 years now.
So how do you see this project, and, where do you see it going?
Well, I live about 1/10 of a mile from there, so that's our beach. If we take a walk in the afternoon or bring the kids down if we want to walk down to the beach. So fortunately, we live in this beautiful town. I bought a piece of land that's 60 feet above sea level because I have very little confidence in, building along the coast. It's just been, when I had bought this property, it's an interesting aside, but I bought this property and, the town requested, because in Montauk there was a very robust population of Indians, the Montauk Indians, so they required me to do a archaeological study. So I had archaeologists come out and check the land and test. And when I got the report, it was interesting because I'm fairly close to the beach, so they want to know were there encampments here. And when I was talking to the archaeologists, I said, well, they must have lived along the beach here. And they said, oh, no. Native Americans never built much along the coast at all. All their major installations and villages were up in the hills. They'd come down in the summer here, and they had fishing camps and stuff. I thought that was very interesting. And right. Obviously we never caught on to their wisdom because, we've built these massive
building temporary settlements, close to the shore, which, at any given day, no matter what the weather or what's going on, it can be, there's a difference.
Yeah. Well, this project's going on a beach that has a very low profile to begin with, and we talk about profiles. If you took a section of the beach and you looked at it, like a section of a cake, you cut a section of a cake, you looked at it. This beach is very low. It takes a very little storm event. It can blow southeast for 25 knots for one day, and there's no beach. On the high tide there'll be no beach. So I live here, so when this project came across the desk, my desk, is 3 years ago, I said they can't build something like this there because the whole structure, the whole seawall, constructed of these heavy-duty geobags, and it's 13 feet high. It's just all of it's in the surf zone. The whole project. They're supposed to build a 75-foot wide berm that goes out in front of the seawall with sand, but that's in the ocean even today as they're working. Their equipment's in the ocean on a regular basis as they're working. So, Montauk is known for its beaches. So there's a real disconnect with this project and what Montauk is all about, which is natural beauty. So this project,
it will affect the surfing and the surfers?
The project from our perspective is illegal, and from our lawyer's perspective and from the law, it violates a lot of laws. But it was a politically driven process, not a scientific or legally respectful process.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me interrupt you for a moment. You said it was an illegal project, yet the Army Corps of Engineers is doing it. I hardly see the Army Corps of Engineers as being an organization that would be rogue in nature. Or the New York State DEC, for that matter.
Yeah, no, they've really passed on a lot of the regulations that are on the books. They were very selective in what they, what rules and regulations applied to this project. There's municipal stormwater regulations that are being violated. There's a local water revitalization program that's a law in our town that's vetted through the state that expressly prohibits this project.
That says the shore. You're saying prohibiting shoreline hardening structures.
Yeah, they allow the LWRP. It's called our local water revitalization program. Allows for temporary installation of said type of structures in this area. They have a bunch of coastal areas that they have zones and have identified legal uses for erosion control. So in this area in downtown Montauk, they do allow for 6 months use of geotubes to protect structures and geobags. And then you can get a 3-month extension, but that's it, And this is a 15-year project.
And you're the source that I saw in the Beacon that was basically saying that this is less of the Army Corps pushing it, but rather a project that's like left over from the last administration that sort of was being pushed by Wilkinson. Is that correct?
Yeah, this came through the Wilkinson administration to it was a local plan put together. Unfortunately for the town members and taxpayers of this town and the East Hampton town, there was no vote on this project. It was a quietly put together package. Wilkinson brought it to he didn't even bring it through the board. There was when the first meeting with the Army Corps, Wilkinson said, "This is my project," and other board members said, "We never voted on it." So it was really, unfortunately, it just never received the local support that a project of this scale requires. It didn't receive the environmental review because this project was an emergency. Even though it's going in today and it's 3 years after Sandy, it's actually an emergency response to Sandy. And because it was termed emergency and funded as an emergency, it passed through a lot of environmental review, and that's why the public I think is so outraged, because a lot of people didn't get a chance. There weren't the normal hearings for a project of this scale. There'd be scoping meetings and hearings, and there would be a lot more information, presented to the public, so the public could maybe even a referendum. That was never offered because the project is considered an emergency.
Well, let me ask you this then.
For the town to stop this project would sort of be like throwing money down the toilet for some sort of something that's aimed to protect the shoreline. Is that sort of what the deal would be? Because this would be like FEMA money.
Yes, in fairness, to stop the project would cost us a significant amount. We don't know that number. We tried to get the board to give us that number, but we have been unsuccessful in getting the board to come.
I did too.
With that, let me just mention that stopping this project would be basically an investment.
Well,
with return, because we have the Corps indemnified themselves from this project when it's done. The maintenance of this project could be massive because this seawall sits right on the beach, very, very much in the surf zone. I'm not at the beach right now, but it could very well be in the surf right now. But the Corps is going to cap that seawall with sand and then go. And the town of East Hampton and all its taxpayers and the county, so anybody in Suffolk County, it's a 50-50 share between the county and the town, has to maintain the sand on that huge 3,000-foot, it's like a little over a half-mile long wall of sand that's going to be constantly in the surf. So we think it's a budget-busting boondoggle that's going to take resources away from our schools and our police officers and our volunteer firemen and our a huge draw on our budget, and and the town. It's very irresponsible because the town has not even put that number in their budget going forward. They don't
Well, let me
know
ask you
what the
this.
number is.
Let me ask you this. Couple of
please.
things. Thing number one is, if not that, number one, how do you propose to protect Montauk? Number two, you said it would impact school taxes, but in fact, school taxes are a whole separate issue. I don't see how it would impact school taxes because the school district is an entirely separate municipality. And then third,
in New York State, we're signed on. You know, we've been successful, and the board has been successful. You know, we have a maximum height, a tax rate height of 2%. You know, so if you've got a,
but that's for each taxing district.
Spend money buying sand.
He's saying it would bust the cap.
But each taxing district has that 2%. In other words, it's not cumulative 2% because it's, it just wouldn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an annual.
For me, what I think is just so unbelievable about this whole story is just the amount of the caring. Like it always amazes me. Montauk's community, of all the East End communities, how much people really care and show they care, and the fact that the day that I saw James Katsipas's video of the 400 surfers protesting against this project, and the fact that, we're going into like the second week and we're getting up to, 20 arrests of people, like local, I guess mostly locals or all locals, that are against the project or feel so strongly that they would, spend their mornings, spend their time, literally stand in front of, heavy machinery, trying to have their voices be heard. I think that it's an unbelievable thing, and it's something you don't see a lot of these days. Well, and maybe I'm sure you do, but, it's
we've had mothers have 3 women in their 40s and 50s and even 60s out there, and believe me, if there's not a dry eye on the beach with the supporters and even the contractor,
why like what is it? What is
even
it
the
about
police
this
officers? Project? I mean, everybody's. It's been some people say some people who are older and have seen the 60s. It's been coined the most polite civil disobedience, ever. So, it's people. The number one thing I think is motivating people. I encourage everybody who's listening, if they get a chance, over the weekend, if the weather's nice, and they want to see something like this, because it really doesn't just affect. Anybody in Suffolk County is going to be paying for this for the next however many years. So you might as well take a look at what your money's going to be, washing away in the sea, because it's really astounding when you get on the beach. And I think that's what's happened. People have come. I've been fighting this for years, but I do a lot of advocacy, and Surfrider Foundation, Eastern Long Island chapter has been very active from the beginning. So, but people have been alarmed, and they come to the beach and they immediately want to throw themselves in front of these machines. I mean, that's what is happening.
Why is that?
Well, I hate to interrupt this, but we are now grabbed by the clock.
Oh, all right. Well, Mr. Muse, thank you so much for coming on the program.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
For talking about this, obviously, an issue that's important to the folks that live out here. Another great show, Bruce. Thanks to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week.
Terrific.
Okay,
thank you for.